Hello and welcome to Exploring Bird Feeding. I'm Ann Swaim from Sawmill River, Audubon, and this short video will help you learn about bird feeding as part of the project between Hendrick Hudson Library and Sawmill River, Audubon, a project for students and families sponsored by a grant from Con Edison. So together in the next few minutes, we're going to look at birds that visit bird feeders that work, and ideas for more exploring. There's a lot of different birds that might visit a bird feeder in the lower Hudson Valley. Here's a picture of some of them. Some are very common and some would be very special visitors. You can get this poster and download it for free from feederwatch.org. And Project FeederWatch is another great way to explore further, to learn about the birds in your own backyard while helping scientists study bird populations. feederwatch.org. Let's take a look at some of the birds that might visit a bird feeder in our area. Here's three different groups: chickadees, finches, and woodpeckers. Chickadees are smaller than sparrows and might be the very first birds to find a new feeder right after you hang it up. They're named for their sound, chickadee-dee-dee. We have a few different kinds of finches in the area. There's nearly 30 kinds of finches across the United States. You can recognize them by their large, triangular seed-crushing bills. And woodpeckers are different than the other two groups because they can climb up the sides of trees. We'll look at two kinds of woodpeckers that might visit your feeder. One of the neat things about having a bird feeder is watching the birds come and go from the feeder. Some stop by and leave right away, and some, like cardinals, like to sit and feed. So one way to explore is to watch and see which seeds are taken by which birds. This little black-capped chickadee is looking through all the seeds in the feeder to pick out black oil sunflower, while the cardinal, with its thick finch bill, is sitting and crunching up a lot of different kinds of seeds. Watch again as a chickadee reaches in, there it is, and grabs a black oil sunflower seed. House finches also have that bill. Oh, let's listen to them a minute. Do you see the triangle? So the female is a little more camouflaged, and she has the same bill, a bill that's made for eating seeds. We might this winter actually see two kinds of finches, purple finch and house finch. Can you see the difference? Purple finches may come visit us this winter. They don't always visit in the winter here. House finches live here year-round. And then our third group of birds are the woodpeckers. Woodpeckers hold on to the sides of trees. Not all of them eat seed. Can you hear the Downy Woodpecker calling? But they will come for suet, which is a kind of animal fat you can buy to feed birds. Here's the male with the red on its head. The Downy Woodpecker is the one we have the most of around here. See the feet for holding on trees? And that chisel bill for pecking in wood for bugs. The other one that will come and get a lot of seed, take it away and store it, or eat suet, like it is here, is the red-bellied woodpecker. Do you hear its call? Sometimes they drum, too. A good thing to keep in mind when you put up a bird feeder is not all birds eat seed, and not all birds are even in the habitats around the library or around your neighborhood. If you want to see a great blue heron in the upper right-hand corner, go down along the Hudson River because that's a water bird. Long legs, long neck, long bill like a spear for catching fish and other water life. And while you may see a red-bellied woodpecker, you probably won't see a red-headed woodpecker. Sometimes people mix those two up. The red-bellied woodpecker does have a little bit of red on its belly. The red-headed woodpecker has its whole head red. But the two birds on the bottom right you might see at your feeder, the house finch and the purple finch. And the reason we think we'll have more purple finches this winter is because they eat evergreen cones, and every few years or so those are in smaller numbers way up north in eastern Canada and northern New England. And during those winters we have what's called an irruption, IR, of northern finches. And we're already seeing purple finches come into the lower Hudson Valley in fall 2020. A couple other birds that are really abundant sometimes around feeders. House sparrow. It was brought here from Europe and is all across the country now. The male in the front, female in the back. And the European starling, a short-tailed blackbird with a long bill. There's three pictured here. The top one is a young starling. The middle is the kind you'll probably see in the winter. It has white specks all over it and a black bill. Another blackbird to look for is very small. It's a kind of sparrow, little triangle bill, and it's black and white, sometimes called the snowbird. And here's a bird that only comes here in the winter. So coming in October and leaving around March is the dark-eyed junco. They like to feed on the ground, but sometimes they'll come up to feeders too. So take a look at this feeder. My goodness, it's got a lot of birds. Can you count the cardinals? There's the bright red cardinals, the male cardinals on the right, and in the very middle of a picture is a more camouflaged female cardinal. Do you see it? Way over on the left side of the picture is, a red-bellied woodpecker. And in the middle is a starling, probably interested in that suet feeder. Let's look at some cardinal feeding behavior. That's a female house sparrow feeding right alongside the cardinal. See the difference in sizes? And here's a female cardinal up in a tree. See her red lipstick bill and camouflage colors. And here's the male and female together. If you watch closely at feeders, you'll often see them come in pairs. They live in the same area year-round. Do you see all the triangles on a cardinal? It's got that crest. You can put that down too. It's just feathers. And a triangle seed-eating bill. Cardinals like to feed on the ground, so a feeder that has a flat perch is one that they'll use. And one other bird to take a look at and watch for this winter, and there's lots of these around the lower Hudson, are American goldfinches. What fools us sometimes is they're different colors in the winter. The front bird is how a male goldfinch looks in the summer, but the back is how a male goldfinch looks in the winter. So watch for those black and white patterned wings. Here's one at a feeder. All right, here's another look at some feeders. Feeder birds visiting here. Let's see if we can sort these out. Before we do, notice at the top that a bird feeder is extra food for birds. They don't need the feeder to survive. It might help them on a very short winter day with lots of snow and ice to make it through, but they're always eating other places too. So let's look at the birds that are in this picture. First of all, we always notice the cardinal first, right? On the left, big red male cardinal. And right through the middle, there are 4 American goldfinches in their winter plumage. Do you see them? And over on the right are 2 female house finches, all stripy. You might think they're sparrows, and they're related to sparrows, but they have a lot more striping. And then last is a whole nother bird. We saw it just earlier, and that's the dark-eyed junco, black and white bird. And it's up on this feeder because it's a flat feeder that it can sit on like the ground. One quick thought, sometimes folks get these mixed up. A bird feeder is different than a bird box. A bird box is something people build for birds that like to nest in holes. Not all birds do, but eastern bluebirds do. So this box was built so that eastern bluebirds could put their nest and eggs in it, and it's just used until the young fly away. So food doesn't go in a bird box, and birds don't nest in bird feeders. So 2 different things to sort there. There's more information about bird boxes and bird nesting at the end of this program. But let's look at different kinds of bird feeders. There's a lot that you might see people using or in stores, and it can give you ideas on how to build your bird feeder. The top bird feeders have flat areas where birds like juncos and house finches and cardinals might be able to sit, more of a platform. And the top right one also has a place for seed to be stored. Do you see that? And then it has a little suet cage on the end of it. On the bottom row on the left is a hanging feeder with perches. So think about how your bird is going to hold on. Think about how birds will hold on to your feeder when you make it. Little birds like chickadees, house finches, will hold on to perch feeders like this. And then on the bottom right is a suet cage to hold those special suet cakes that are sold for birds like woodpeckers to eat. One very simple feeder is pictured here, and the library has a handout for this. It's just a liter soda bottle with some holes cut in it, and a wooden spoon's used to make the perch. So that's really the 2 basic parts of a bird feeder, is a way to hold the seed and a place for birds to hold on. And here's a look at different things that can go in a bird feeder, different kinds of bird seed. A lot of times mixed seed will have some combination of the seeds on the screen here. Sometimes people buy just black oil sunflower or just millet or just thistle. Thistle is good for attracting goldfinches, for example. But sometimes mixed seed will have combinations. The seed on the lower right, Milo, isn't that great for birds around here. So if there's a lot of red Milo in a mixed seed, it's actually a little bit of wasted seed. And here's an interesting thing to explore. If you get some mixed seed, is do a project to sort it out and see how much of each kind of seed is in the bag. Wow, look at this suet feeder. That's a big piece of suet that these people put up because they knew that they had a pileated woodpecker. And this is the biggest woodpecker found in North America. It's about the size of a crow. Look at that beak. Here's another way that people help birds, and maybe it's something for you to think about. Another way to feed birds is to plant plants that birds like. And so this berry bush has attracted cedar waxwing, a beautiful bird that lives in our area, but doesn't eat seed, and it won't even come to a suet feeder. It really needs berries. So one thing people are doing now is they're planting for birds. Goldfinches really like echinacea, and they'll eat the seeds from that flower. Do you see it on the left? So you can explore more about this at Audubon.org, Plants for Birds. And here's another great way to explore further. One of the best app out there to identify birds that you might see at your bird feeder or around where you live or around the library is the Merlin Bird Id App. It's free, and it has pictures of all North American birds and songs on it. But more than that, it helps you think about how to ID birds. So you can use these same questions, even if you don't have the app, when you see a new bird. The first question is what size the bird was. And we use different birds that people know to learn about birds they don't know. So Merlin asks you, is it the size of a sparrow, a robin, a crow, or a goose, or maybe in between those birds? So start noticing how big sparrows, robins, crows, and geese are, and that can help you learn new birds. And since it's a smart app, when you use the Merlin app, it already knows where you are, so what birds might be around, and it also knows when you are. So it'll just think of birds that are seen that time of year, and it'll offer you a list of possible birds that you're trying to ID. It'll also ask you what are the main colors of your bird and what the bird was doing, maybe eating at a feeder. The other cool thing that the Merlin app can do is if you have a picture of a bird on your phone, it will help you ID the picture and give you, again, some choices of what that picture might match. Here's some other ways to explore further. Probably the best site to learn about birds is called Allaboutbirds.org. It's from the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. There's lots more on there about bird feeding and nest boxes. Again, all the pictures and songs and sounds from birds are available online at this site too. If you want to learn more about nest boxes, the best site is nestwatch.org. It'll teach you about the birds that will nest in boxes. It even has plans for how to build boxes, and it links to nest cams. So these are webcams that are inside nest boxes all around the country, even really big birds like a great horned owl or a red-tailed hawk. And last, if you have any questions about birds, about your bird feeders, and about identifying birds, you can contact us at sawmillriveraudubon.org, and we'll be glad to help you. So good luck on your bird feeding project. Hope you get to see a lot of new birds and learn new things about birds that live in our area.